Hi. How you doing? I figured out the green screen thing. And did you want to see the video I made, Colin? And then I was going to put the Tales of Estolia on from the very beginning. And I have a new chapter that's coming out tomorrow. And let's do the Coolin' song is what I called it. And this is how it begins. Let me know if you can't hear it or anything. I think I've set it all up proper, but I'm still a newbie. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. Oops. Let's start all over again. Oh, sorry about that. I'm new. I'm learning. Just one second. There we go. Sorry about that. There. Now you can tell me if you can hear it. And I think you can see it because I can see it on my screen. But let me know if you can't hear it. Okay, you know? Is it good now? Can you hear it? Hi there. Can you hear it? Can't hear it. What am I doing wrong? Let's see. Let's try this again. Oh, muted. I'm muted. Can you hear me? There we go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so you can hear me, but you couldn't hear the song, but you could see the song. Okay. Let me see. Present screen. Also share tab audio. Let's try this way. Okay. So, tell me if you can now, if you can hear this once I hit play.
Indefinitely, not Cromwell. Covering court, interviewing judges, looking to learn, lawyering. Calling, not Cromwell. Supplying court junkies by compiling, creating, converting court cases, supplying our need. Covering court, interviewing the judges, interpreting the intricacies of law. Collins' first lady, beautiful and sweet. God, she's so lucky for all of Collins' followers. She is such a treat. Colin, definitely not Cromwell. Covering court, interviewing judges, looking to learn, lawyering. Colin, not Cromwell. Supplying court junkies by compiling, creating, converting court cases, supplying our need. Covering court, interviewing the judges, interpreting the intricacies of law. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. She is such a treat. Covering court, interviewing the judges, interpreting the intricacies of law. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. 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 Covering court, interviewing the judges, interpreting the intricacies of law. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat. She is such a treat. Colin's first lady, beautiful and sweet. Gosh, she's so lucky for all of Colin's followers. She is such a treat.
So what'd you think? I had fun trying to make it look like the actual music on the screen. I mean, obviously I didn't synchronize everything, but I had fun. But anyway, I was just gonna play the just start the Tales of Estolia and from the very beginning and run through the entire novel. Not today, not the whole thing, probably not even all of part one, but I just thought I would actually play that unless you want to see something else. So, but yeah, I enjoyed making that one. But now let me see. I have to just change what I'm sharing. So I will try to do a new one. Let's see, get it right this time, because, you know, sometimes I can get it right, sometimes. Let's see. All right, here, try this, try that, try this, and that. There we go. All right. If you ever have any questions, though, and want me to pause it, say anything, let me know. Che, you're here. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. Yay. All right. Well, we're just starting the very first chapter and the very first part of the very first book. Literally, we're just starting. We waited just for you. That's why I had all those glitches. But tell me if you cannot hear it once I hit play, so I will fix it, because I think it's good this time, though. Can you hear it?
Tales of Estolia by Sashina Kerfman.
I have to say, I made this video 3 years ago. I never made the second video until like August-ish of last year. So then I started kind of getting into it. So I used a different program. I didn't even know what program I used. And I was just playing around with it. But I think what's interesting is you'll be able to see exactly how good or how, okay, that was really, really vain. But anyway, how much I've improved over time. So this first part, though, is fully narrated by an actual live human. Just thought I'd mention that. So, but this one's kind of cheesy because I made it years ago.
Read by Ken Moss. The Promise of Zacharias, Part 1. Chapter 1. The Ankh-Hamun. 721 years before the current era. Though my bones crumble, and the dust be scattered to the four winds, still I achieve immortality in the living world, if that which I inscribe in stone persists. Key. Inscription on the mossy rock. Zacharias and Cayman, the first mate on the Ankh-Hamun, both watched as Tabor, the newly hired seaman, helped the invaders tie their small vessel to the Ankh-Hamun and climb aboard. Their words, softly spoken, were in a Moorish dialect. For Zacharias, it was hard to wait and watch as they moved away from the rail towards the small pile of crates heaped haphazardly on the deck, where Tabor stealthily carried them the previous half hour. One crate was partially opened, and as the full moon slid out from behind the scattered clouds in the night sky, they could see the glint of gold within. When the marauders were all grouped around Tabor's plunder, Zacharias looked at Cayman. He nodded. It was time. They carefully climbed down from the rigging, beckoning to the rest of the guards who had remained strategically hidden on the deck, signaling them to be prepared. While they were docked at Izquierdo a day and a half ago, Zacharias was enjoying a drink when Tabor entered the quiet establishment followed by 3 other men. He greeted Zacharias cordially in heavily accented Anoxian and then sat at a nearby table. The 4 men spoke in the Moorish tongue, a variant on the language of Chela. Tabor arranged with the others when and where they should board the Ankh-Hamun and remove much of the pharaoh's treasure. Zacharias maintained a stoic, uninterested countenance during their entire discussion. Tabor must have thought that Zacharias was deaf, simple, or a fool. No fool, Zacharias sought to acquaint the first mate with the information about the upcoming raid. Captain Kafares was with Cayman, and Zacharias was invited to share what he knew, and afterwards to be an active participant in their discussion on the best response to the information that they now possessed. The fight, when it came, was short. The pirates had no chance against their organized repulsion. Zacharias focused his attention on Tabor, while the others took on the pirates. They caught them by surprise, and Tabor was no match for Zacharias' skill with the blade. He felt his sword sinking into Tabor's gut and hid a shudder of distaste. Their eyes met, and he knew the moment Tabor's soul fled. He lifted one foot and pushed against his chest, disengaging him from the sword and throwing him overboard to feed the leviathans already awaiting their meal. He did not wait to see how the voracious creatures of the deep received their tribute. He swiveled and crouched, ready to deal with any of the other marauders. His caution was unnecessary. The first mate was already trussing up the last of the 7 pirates on the deck. Zacharias carefully wiped the blade of his sword before putting it back in its scabbard. He joined the first mate and Captain Cafares, who were discussing their captive's fate. 2 of the pirates looked like they had not yet reached puberty and were identical in appearance. One pirate cursed long and fluently until a guard gave him a none-too-gentle prod in the back. In the ensuing silence, the captain said, "Pirates are a scourge here in the seas of Centrarth, taking that which they have not earned, including the lives of those who make an honest living. I see no reason for leniency. We will therefore tie each of you to the deck of your ship and then sink it, so that neither you nor your vessel will ever again trouble the righteous plying these waters." The pirates were all dragged to their feet. The oldest man, clearly the leader of the pirates, begged the captain of the Ankamoon. "Spare my sons, I beg of you. They are twins, not even men, and they can serve you and your ship. Please have mercy, one captain to another." Captain Cafares looked from the pirate to the 2 young boys. Zacharias thought they must be only 10 or 12 years old. Unlike the teak-colored complexion of their father, their skin had a golden hue, and their eyes were dark, shining with intelligence. They were watching the exchange, but did not beg or plead for their lives as some might. "I go to the court of the 7 gods of Centrarth," the pirate captain said, speaking more to his sons than the captain of the Ankamoon, "to pay for my crimes, and beg lenience for my kin who come after me." He switched his attention from his sons to the captain and said, "They are hard workers, and they will serve you and your vessel with loyalty." "You swear this?" Captain Cafares demanded of the 2 young men. They nodded in unison, and one of the 2 boys stated, his young voice solemn and serious, "We swear upon our honor, under penalty of eternal death, with the 7 deities of Centrarth as our witness, that we will serve this vessel with utmost loyalty." Zacharias felt the flush of destiny, as he liked to call it, that prickling of the skin that told him he was witnessing something extraordinary. When the captain agreed, he felt proud to serve aboard the Ankamoon. Integrity was not enough. Mercy was another quality of character he valued. The 2 youngsters stood with the rest of the crew, watching as the pirates were secured to the rails and mast of the smaller vessel. The hull showed signs of a recent repair, and the first mate pried loose the boards. Those aboard the Ankamoon could see water rushing through the aperture, flooding the ship. Once the first mate was back on board, Captain Cafares had his crew maneuver the ship away from the doomed vessel, and they waited and watched as the bow sank lower and lower until the entire vessel slid seamlessly to the depths. "May the 7 deities accept our tribute this day," Zacharias said softly. He took a deep breath and then said to the first mate, "The weather looks to be turning. I'll go aloft. Keep an eye out for those who would target us in foul weather." He had liked Tabor for the short time he knew the man. He felt soiled that he was made not only to explain what he had overheard, but be the man to pass judgment on Tabor. Once he was at his post, Zacharias scanned the horizon, looking for additional pirate vessels. All he saw was the dim iron-grey background of the sea and sky merging with one another, brooded over by the lowering clouds. It was a fast-approaching, unpredictable storm, typical for this region. The rising sun was hidden behind the sodden clouds. He heard the uncomfortable whinnies of the horses and the cries of his shipmates to one another. These sounds were muted when jagged lightning was punctuated by a clap of thunder. The storm raged around him. He was preparing to secure himself to the mast when a massive jolt almost threw him from his perch. The sharp crack of wood splintering and sudden dramatic listing to the side had him hanging on the rigging, scrambling for a more secure hold on the broken mast. He saw the horses were loose on the deck, whinnying in fear and anxiety as the surface under their hooves lurched and heaved in the tempestuous sea. Another deafening roar of thunder punctuated the lightning, and he saw the horses plunging through a break in the rail into the sea. The high-pitched scream of a woman drew his attention. He saw her attempting to swim beneath him, where the broken mast overhung the seething sea. She was struggling to stay above the waves, and he feared she would drown swiftly without help. Another lurch of the ship, and the mast splintered further. He dove into the water, hoping to rescue the maiden, but realized his mistake instantly. His sword was dragging him into the depths. He could not surface with it strapped to his side. He would have to offer it as tribute to the 7 deities, and hope they accepted the offering and allowed him to live. All these thoughts rushed through his mind in the moments before he unfastened his scabbard and released it. He shot to the surface and gulped in a deep breath before beginning his search for the woman. The horses were no longer visible. A desperate, spluttering cry oriented him. He saw the flash of her face before the water dragged her down once more, threatening to consume her just as it had consumed his sword. He dove after her, reaching her swiftly. He wrapped his arm around her ribcage and pulled her with him back to the stormy surface of the water. He could no longer see the Ankh-Amun, but what he did see was welcome. The bulk of land. Chapter 2. Conference. Very few of my protégés ever realized the critical purpose built into the different iterations of the grand design. Those who do, like Krynos and I, come to cherish that moment when it is time to start afresh, wherein 10 of the most refined and advanced beings convene and embark on the journey together. The participants come from each of the 5 dimensions of reality, matched and paired, refined and readied for that one pulse beat of existence in the great cycle when it is time to begin again. What better way is there to travel through infinity towards that elusive goal of eternity? Who, having been a part of the grand design, would turn down the chance to be both guide and guardian when the cycle starts again? Caleria. Musings on Eternity. Elora watched the gathered major deities selecting vast swathes of the planet. Their constraints and mission would be slightly different from the minor deities. She frowned when she saw Herschel selecting a vast tract of land in a southern continent. A shiver of unease ran through her system. She was distracted when she heard the chimes, and she felt the thrill of accomplishment. It was time for the inception of the grand design. She swept her hand downward and then stepped through the black portal that appeared before her. She was transported instantly to a forest meadow, and sweet birdsong punctuated the crisp air. She only saw one other individual. "This is very pleasant, Alanis." Much better than the white marble amphitheater where the major deities did their selection and instruction. She tried to shrug off thoughts of the other participants and focus on the here and now. "Did you create it yourself?" "Yes." Alanis preened at the praise. She had worked on the forest glade for some time to make it perfect for this meeting of deities. She walked over to the circle of boulders and sat on one of them. Elora sat on another, and as the others arrived, they each chose a boulder, until 10 deities were sitting in one large circle. They leaned forward, heads bowed, when Krynos and Caleria stepped out of nothing and into the center of the circle. "Today we begin the grand design," Caleria said. "Each of you will impact the lives of the people within a specific region. Give edicts to your charges and guide them. Follow up on the promises you make. You may have as large or as small a link with your people as you wish. The only thing you cannot do is eliminate their free will." Krynos cautioned them.
"While each of you will work to impact your chosen realm of influence,
Other deities from alternate cycles will be working on their own designs. Take care that you do not interfere with their subjects.
Krynos and Caleria taught them all they would need to know to participate in the grand design. Time itself ceased for this critical instruction, as those who were gathered for the inception of the project absorbed the information necessary for success. When they finished, each of the 10 deities was fully prepared, ready to take the first irrevocable step. The 2 instructors stepped to the side, and in the center of the glade a small, nearly colorless globe now floated, representing the planet upon which the grand design would play out in all its intricacies. Pastel shades colored some of the land masses and seas, indicative of the areas claimed by other deities who had already been through instruction. When she first saw the globe, Elora felt a surge of pride. This was her contribution to the grand design, her belief in what would make the true difference to success or failure. This time there would not be 1, but 2 layers of deities responsible for interacting with the citizens of this world. The interactions between the major deities, who had already chosen their regions, and the minor deities, seated in this circle and awaiting the chance to make their selections, was, she hypothesized, the missing ingredient from all previous iterations. Each deity took turns choosing a small region of the planet within which they would have the ultimate authority. They could extend their influence beyond the boundaries of their region, but only to those who were tied by blood or faith to their chosen domain. When it was her turn, Elora hurried to the small globe and settled her hand over a small island in a vast inland sea. Her theory was that it would be easier to control the interactions of her people and those of the greater world if they were on an island, easier than their landlocked counterparts at least. Her grand design required her subjects to remain somewhat isolated in the infancy of civilization, much easier to achieve with an island than it would be with a region on one of the larger continents. She returned to her seat and relaxed as she switched her attention to those still awaiting their turn. Faloran ran his fingertips over a mountainous region in the largest landmass, and Paldea picked a coastal region quite close to Elora's island. Krynos looked around the circle of deities, settling on Zenta.
What region do you select?
He asked her. Like the others, Zenta did not hesitate. She approached where Krynos stood next to the globe. The 9 regions each pulsed with the colors of their respective deities.
I choose to forego the role of deity and instead take on an advisory role.
With a flick of one wrist, she caused the globe to rotate around its invisible axis. She settled her hand over a small region on the west coast of a large northern continent.
Here, I will help shape events to promote my goals and those of the grand design by interacting with those who venture into my region. I know my direct influence will be held in abeyance for thousands of years, but this part of the globe will, in time, bring together a concentration of people from other parts of the grand design. I feel constrained to impact events rather than individuals.
Elora felt a surge of excitement. She glanced over at Alanis, and they both got to their feet so they could approach where Zenta stood. Elora extended one hand to Zenta and one to Alanis, and waited while they completed the circle.
I knew,
Alanis said,
the instant you touched the globe, that my citizens and those of Elora would both come to this region, and that together our threefold influence will be an integral part of the grand design.
Elora felt the solemn weight of responsibility as she looked from Alanis to Zenta, then toward Krynos and Caleria.
There will be a nexus in this region, tying together our diverse religions and bringing the purpose of the grand design to fruition.
Once the 3 returned to their respective boulders, Krynos touched the globe. The different regions stopped pulsing and began to glow fiercely with the colors of the respective deities, as the planet itself imprinted their ownership on those regions. Caleria intoned,
"Let it be so recorded. The selection of regions for the grand design have been made. We shall reconvene at the appropriate time."
The colors on the globe began to fade, along with the glade, the deities, and the circle of boulders. Each participant began the critical preliminary work for their grand design. Chapter 3. The Grand Design. The children of Zacharias will never be asked to do more than they are capable of doing. Hieronymus Jeremiah, Capitulo 2. The island Elora constructed from an idea was beautiful. Nothing in her existence prior to the grand design prepared her for this moment. This was the substance of her dreams, flavored by her imagination, augmented by her individuality. She compared it with the other lands in the grand design. None came close to her creation in style, beauty, or grandeur. Among the fine details put together for the island destined to hold her people, she was proudest of the two mountains at the center. Both were riddled with caves, caverns, and corridors. The first was much taller, with two crests. The second mountain, on the other side of the narrow valley, was shorter, but with a much larger footprint and a fanciful summit that was flat like the palm of a hand, decorated by pillars of rock in the semblance of skeletal fingers reaching skyward. Halfway between this peak and the base was a grand plateau, and where it met the sides of the mountain, her people would discover the entrance to one of the networks of caves. The southwestern quadrant of the island was a massive tableland, higher than the rest of the island, with an impressive waterfall leading into a central lake. The largest network of caves was within the tableland, but not nearly as easy to gain access. Two large bays dominated the east. 3 separate ocean channels led to the bays, but only the middle channel held a safe approach through the many submerged rocks surrounding the island. The main island was ringed by hazardous waters, making it unappealing for those who might consider invading. The flowering fruit trees peppering the island were one of her gifts for the faithful, with unique species of butterflies and bees to pollinate the plentiful blossoms. Her most critical achievement was the way inhabitants of the neighboring island saw it as unimportant, small, and therefore not worth the effort to explore, particularly when they considered the potential risks to their ships. Once it was fully prepared, she needed to find the right sort of people to accept her as deity, who would live the edict she would give them. Without that, it was all for nothing, and it had to begin with a single man, a man willing to agree to the requirements placed before him. Finding a man to bestow her blessings upon was harder than she expected. So many of the men she happened upon were coarse, intemperate, motivated by sexual allure, and untrue to their word. She walked unseen through the markets in many of the bustling population centers ringing the inland sea. The dark souls of the seething throngs of people buffeted her from all sides. This interaction with humanity was a hazard she had not considered when she fought so hard to be part of the grand design. It was, however, a critical step. Her design could not move forward without the perfect man for her purposes. The man she was following impressed her with his intellect. Just as she considered selecting him for her grand design, she was halted by what she saw within him. His thoughts shifted towards sex. She could work with that. But as they grew specific, she was repulsed. No, this man would not work as the one to begin her experiment. She had time before she had to settle on one man for her grand design, but it was discouraging when finding the right man seemed impossible.
Perhaps you want more than any man can give.
Elora turned and saw it was Zenta walking next to her. Zenta, who had no people, no part of the grand design for many more human generations. They walked next to one another through the shopping district.
Maybe you're looking in the wrong place, or for the wrong type of man.
Elora stopped and gestured to another man she had considered much earlier and discarded.
See this man? He is strong of body, intelligent, but he will not work in my grand design. He lacks the qualities of character necessary for success. What is it you want or need then? Intelligence, strength, bravery, loyalty, and above all other things, integrity. He must be capable of the necessary belief to follow my commandments. Perhaps your search is too far from where you wish your progenitor to flourish. It may be the compatibility you seek requires proximity in addition to those other qualities.
Zenta's voice was earnest. Elora looked from the bright colors of the fabric vendors to the vendors of metals. Perhaps she should look closer to her land.
You are wise.
Elora thanked Zenta before moving her awareness from the eastern city to the region which held her island in the western half of the sea. She would choose one of the cities near her land, Anoxes or Chella or Palmyra. She was immediately aware of a ship passing close to her island. The ship was a merchant vessel, heavily laden with cargo and livestock, the Ankhamun. She explored the hearts and minds of each man toiling on the ship. Most were unsuitable to her design. In addition to the men, a stowaway was hidden among the livestock, a woman. She was ready to move on when she realized there was another man on the ship. He was high up in the rigging, on the lookout for pirates, and was a large, imposing, physical man. He was illiterate, like most of the people of this era, but quite intelligent. Elora took the time to read from his mind his story. The important elements began exactly 5 years ago. He called himself Zacharias. Chapter 4. Zacharias. In the ancient world, the life expectancy was quite short. When you eliminate infant mortality rates, however, the average lifespan of individuals was very near and in some cases surpassed that of those living in our modern era. Samuel Zakarian, Master's Thesis. Zacharias came into the living area of the house and saw that only his mother was there. "Where are father and Phineas?" he asked. He had hoped to catch the two of them before they left the house. "Those two mares that Hiram sold your father decided to both go into labor at the same time," his mother said. "They're down at the stables overseeing the miracle." Her voice was sharp and exasperated, but overlaid with the fondness of more than 30 years of marriage. "I shall tell them that they are to return to break their fast before they are to go on to the normal work of the day," he promised his mother, before giving her a hug and striding towards the entrance. It was only a short walk to the stable yard, and he could hear his mother chuckling as he left the house. His father and his brother both stood outside the two large box stalls for the mares they had acquired earlier in the year. In the first stall, there was a sturdy foal standing next to the mare, already nuzzling for sustenance. It was a colt, the gender obvious as he swished his tail vigorously while enjoying his first meal. Zacharias then turned his attention to the mare in the stall his father and brother were watching. She was delivering a foal with barely a grunt at the effort involved. He watched, fascinated, as the foal immediately struggled to get to its feet. "Bit small, isn't it?" Zacharias said. His father's response held an edge of amusement. "Wait, watch, learn." Zacharias stepped closer, alarmed that the mare was still on her side. She should have been on her feet to encourage the foal's efforts to stand, helping the umbilicus to break as well. In this case, the mare was only neighing in encouragement and reassurance from where she lay prone on the stall floor. When her whinny changed tenor, the three men watched another foal swiftly join the first. So this was what his father meant. He had no experience with any horse giving birth to twins, but twin lambs were generally smaller than their single-birth counterparts. It made sense that this would be true of foals as well. "Fillies," his father said triumphantly. He had expressed the wish frequently that the two pregnant mares would provide him with a colt and a filly. 2 fillies and a colt made the event all the sweeter. They waited until all 3 foals had their first meal before Zacharias urged his father and brother to return to the house. They were seated at the table, enjoying his mother's incomparable cooking, when he broached the subject he had planned for this morning's meal. "I have been asked to join the crew of the Ankhamun as one of their armed guards. She will be in port in a 7-day. His mother looked up and caught his eyes, holding back incipient tears. He looked at his father and saw that he understood. "I did not think you would remain." "You are sure?" Phineas asked him. Zacharias clapped his brother on the back and said regretfully, "I believe that my fortune and future are on some distant shore. This farm is in your blood. You and your Anuri should formalize your relationship, bring many sons and daughters into the world for mother to dote upon them. He had to swallow on the catch in his throat before he could continue. I must find my own place in this world, and it is not here in Anoxes. It is dangerous work, his mother said, her voice trembling. I am strong, mother. Can you imagine anyone risking my wrath? She shook her head and looked away, tears rolling down her cheeks. She swallowed and said, her eyes on the plate in front of her, I always knew that I would one day have to say goodbye. May the 7 gods of Centrath see you happy and healthy. We shall have a celebration before you leave, and if you are ever in port again, you must visit. His father's words were gruff, as if he felt the same emotion as his wife, but could not demonstrate it as freely. The words felt like a blessing, and Zacharias was warm to his core at his parents' sentiment. But he was almost 25, and it was time for him to move on.
I just wanted to share one thing easier than typing it all out. It's interesting, when I first started making these videos, I was just beginning to explore the AI, and I had a limit on how many images I could make. So a lot of the images kept reappearing, and then later on, you know, I basically splurged, and I got kind of the one step below the maximum, you know, package through the AI. And so I went from being really limited to now I have like 5,000 images credit at the moment, and they roll it over. So, but I was thinking, you know, why did I always reuse so many images in the beginning? And I hadn't learned how to edit the faces, because I do a lot of work on editing the faces. I was wondering if you guys wanted to just kind of see the whole process for a minute or two, and just kind of see how it looks. Well, yeah, I got right now I get 1,000 images a month plus 700. I don't 300 or 700. I think it's 1,300, but I haven't used them all just because it's been difficult with various and sundry issues here in my home. And so, but I would like to show you guys. So let's see. Here, hold on a moment. Have to fix it so that it's the right type of screen. But that'd be cool to just show you, because the other day you guys got to see how I made the songs. It'd be interesting to show you how I make some of the other stuff. I enjoy it anyway. But here, let me get the right screen up, and then I'll be able to show you. Okay. All right. There we go. All right, so this is where I do all of my image creating. So in on the 7th, I will get 1,000 more. So I'll have 5,000 images that I can create. But I'm not really worried about that. They always have me using up the oldest ones first. But it can be really, really frustrating. Like, let me kind of see if I show you this. So a lot of the stuff that I get, I mean, these are a lot of the images. Like, here's an interesting one that I ended up having to edit just slightly for obvious reasons. But yeah, like I was trying to get the thumbnail image for one of my videos, and so this is the one I settled on. But some of the other ones, you know, I was trying to have Angel with bright orange red hair, very innocent looking with freckles. Now try to get a redhead to look innocent and angelic. That not that easy. But then some of the images were like little children, and I was trying to make it into something that was adult, not, you know, not a child. Although there are some cute child images in here. She doesn't look all that innocent to me. She's cute. And yeah, I tried doing it vertically to see if that would help, because sometimes the aspect ratio makes a difference to what kind of image it will create. Oh, and then I was trying to make the image for the 2 images for the one song I had. So making the thumbnails is one of them. But do you guys have a requested image, or do you want me just to kind of make something that I would be normally making for my next video anyway? Let's see. Let's go to the create button. Put it on the right aspect ratio. We'll make 2 images. I like the photograph. Actually, let's make some eye candy. So, so what I found interesting is when I typed in eye candy for the soul and put it on digital art, it actually creates some interesting stuff. Normally, you have to be a lot more specific when you're giving it a command, or it's just going to give you really weird random stuff. But sometimes I actually look forward to that. Like I put in Colin, definitely not Cromwell, as the only prompt, and I got on the digital art filter, and that's where I got all those pictures of houses and kind of historical looking things. And I thought that they were cool, not because they were related to Colin in any way, but that was just what the AI, you know, put out. Although if I ask AI to give me a picture of love, it has in the past given me a picture of asphalt. Some of the things it comes up with are weird, but let's just see what happens. I'm actually going to ask it for 6 images because I know that it's going to give me stuff I can use. Oh my gosh. After this, I'm going to show you some of the weird pictures I definitely couldn't use. Because I get probably out of 6 images, depending on the prompt, sometimes there's none I can use. Sometimes there are plenty I can use. You know, the more abstract it is, the more I can use it. Like, so these will all end up as thumbnails, or might end up as thumbnails for my eye candy videos. Look, there's a whole town on top of the eyeball. Can you imagine this weird eye candy planet? See, that one's lovely just all by itself. There's another, wait, did we already look at that one? Nope. There's apparently villages on top of eyeballs is the big theme this time. That one's pretty. And that one's kind of weird. Looks like it's given birth to an egg or something. Weird. And then there's that one. So, yeah, I was trying to do a black woman with issues with her legs, and some of the images just came out weird. Like I used this image. You'll see that one on tomorrow's video, but I was trying to have it so she had kind of bloody marks on her legs from being shackled, but I was not successful. And then here, I can't really make the image bigger, or at least I've never figured out how to do that. Let's see. But she's got 4 legs at least. Yeah, they do have an obsession with eyeballs. It is weird. But anyway, so that was one of my images that I came up with. Here's another one where it looks like there's a knee. I don't know. Can you guys see my cursor or not on the screen? I don't know if you can. You probably can't. But there's, she's got these funky feet, and her anatomy doesn't anatomize. This one, it wasn't so bad. And this one was a little out there, but I used it anyway. I don't know if I used that one. I didn't realize just how much you can see through the supposedly opaque top. So this site will not do pictures of nudity unless you ask it some in a way that it, you know, it wants to give us those things. The censor settings, you know, they won't let you make pictures of people having sex or whatever. But I've asked it to give me a picture of a guy in a bathrobe and had the bathrobe not cover his bits. And I've had lots of breasts shown. So it's kind of weird the way they do things. But that's okay. Oops, wrong direction. Let's see. Those all kind of turned out pretty good. I wanted someone who looked like they'd been half drowned in the hold of a slave ship. And here I wanted them to give me a handsome man with dark teak-colored skin, short white hair, blue eyes, standing on a rocky beach, wearing a attire from the Phoenician, I don't know how to say that word, empire. And it was great, but he wasn't dark enough in the skin color. I liked his hair. That's the hair I imagined. And again, these were the two images I got. So then I clarified it and I said, okay, let's just say brown skin, dark brown skin. Still didn't quite turn out okay because these guys just aren't looking like the big, powerful, white-haired black dude I was imagining with blue eyes that I was imagining. So I went ahead and tried again. Now he's got curly hair. I wasn't thinking curly hair, but it was getting pretty nice. So I was going with it. One of the things that I end up doing with a lot of my images is I've got my image in my head of what all of the characters look like, what the scenery looks like. And then I ask the AI to give it to me. And oftentimes it does not give me anything close to what is in my mind. But sometimes I have to decide, okay, somebody who doesn't have, you know, the access to my brain would probably find these images just fine. And so I sometimes just say, okay, fine, I'll just go with what they're giving me, even though it's nothing like what's in my mind and I'm the one creating it. But I've tried a lot to make it turn out certain ways. But let's see, let's go ahead with a different one. Let's see. So we're gonna have what are those things called when you have the chariot, yes. 3 large heavy boned horses pulling a chariot 3 abreast. And the driver is a large black man with white hair, muscular, blue eyes. The chariot is on a street, on a road lined with blossoming trees. So that is what I asked it to do. I'm going to go ahead and make it a photograph filter. So I'm going to tell it to do 8K, which is high definition, bright lighting. Let's see, wide field of view, anatomically correct. Let's see what ends up happening. Thick, What were you suggesting? Thick? Let's see. 3 large, you mean thick horses instead of heavy boned? I could just say draft horses, but that hasn't worked out well in the past. But sometimes, how about Clydesdales? Pulling a chariot, 3 abreast. Okay, let's see what happens. All right. Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm going to go down to 4 images. Let's see what we get. Yeah. Fat, but not fat. Let's see what we get. All right. So there, see, it cannot count. I told it 3 horses and a chariot, and I got 4 horses and a wagon. And I'm pretty sure that if you counted the legs, you're going to get more legs than necessary. But that's the first one. It is a nice picture, though. And dude up there, oh my gosh, I'm going to put this on edit so I can zoom. I forgot that I could. Oh, wait, hold on. No, I can't do that. It won't work because it'll open in a different screen. Although we can always change it. But yeah, this dude up here on the chariot looks like he's okay. I'm gonna edit this. We'll switch screens. I'll come back to that. Okay. Let's me do it this way. Good. There we go. So here's my editing where I get to change things. So like I zoom in and I'm like, WTF, what the hell is that? See, this is what ends up happening. So I've created this image. I've got, actually the horses look not too bad. I mean, this one does have 5 or 6 legs, and they're definitely way more legs than 2 horses need. And then we've got this strangeness up here. I have no idea what that even is. Is that supposed to be another horse? Is that a zombie? So what I can do is what I usually do is I try to make a change. So like make this look like a, so I go to the face that's messed up and I say, beautiful white-haired woman. So I say, okay, that's what I want you to replace whatever that monstrosity was. And I don't even know if that's the back of a person's head sitting in front of it. See, so now it looks like a person. And then I can look at, so these are the 2 options it's given me to replace what I had before. And then I can click here to see what it looked like before I had edited it. And it's obviously way better. But then there's this hand or whatever it is right below her chin. And then there's that humanish thing in front of her. Not quite sure what that is. And I can also ask it to do additional stuff. So I can say, it's not good enough. And so then I'll ask it to change something else. So that's actually not that bad. So I can say, okay, this one's good. So I now have that. So that's why sometimes the images, I will make some changes, but then I'll realize later that something was off. And what I can do is I can use the magic eraser. So the magic eraser, I use the quick select. So what it's going to do now is it's going to try to figure out what are all of the different elements that someone might want to erase. So now what I can do is, let me back it up. It doesn't have a very good navigation feature. I don't like that. It's one of the few things. So like this thing on top of the, here, let me shut this, make that a little better. On top of this, I mean, I think it's supposed to be another horse. I'm not quite sure, but I don't think we need it. And then right over here, it looks like some more horse. It won't let me get rid of everything automatically like that. Like this dude, you know, I don't know that we need him. Let me back this up. So I can just take off his head, get rid of him too, see what happens. All right, now let's see what we get. So here's what it looked like to begin with the weirdness on the back of the horses and that weird person there. And now we just have a big old blur, but we're gonna go ahead and accept that. Now I can go down to my replace and I can tell it to fix some of this. You know, I can say, let's add a demented werewolf and a, that's not how you spell werewolf. And a stingray. I don't know what I'm doing. Just having fun. All right, let's see what happens. Sorry, I don't mean to bore you guys. I hope this isn't boring. I'm going to show you one more thing after I'm done with this, and then we're going to call it quits. But I want to show you one of the other things that I end up doing. Oh my gosh, this is what it looked like. And now we've got a werewolf, and I have no idea what's going on over here. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna give it one more twirl. Oh, sorry. Weird stuff. All right, let's see. Oh, that's pretty terrifying, actually. I like that one best. It's a werecat wolf thing. Oh my gosh. See, so this is a lot of the fun I have in the background working on these, but I'm going to go ahead and save this one. I might make it an eye candy cover picture just for fun, but there we go. I'll download it. Oh, that's fun stuff. Yeah, I agree. So I want to show you one other feature. I'm going to switch screens. And it allows me to come back here. And I'm going to show you one more fun thing with editing. So I'm going to pick one of the images I already have here. I'm going to go to one of the waifs that I had created. Let's see. Which waif should I choose? Oh, look at this one. This one's got ginormous feet. See, I was trying to do the rich, you know, kid that has it all and the not so rich kid that doesn't have anything. Tried to do a family portrait with one kid looking, you know, great and one awful, but AI says, no, that's stupid. Why would any family look like that? But anyway, let's see. It's really funny though. Like, let's just take this little girl. Okay, so I'm gonna take this little girl here, and I am, but that sounds really wrong. I'm gonna take a little girl. I'm gonna edit it. So I'm switching to this tab. And then one of the cool things I can do is I can use this expand. Now this is where it gets really crazy. So I'm gonna expand the image. And they don't actually ask what you want to put in the empty spaces. So I just make it let's see, I'll put her over here. And so it's going to fill in what it thinks I want over here. And it gets crazy. Let's see what ends up happening. So it's going to give me options and I get to choose one. So that's how I made that one thumbnail with the girl in the pretty dress and the other girl that looked all forlorn. Is I took the forlorn girl and I just said, let's make some more content. And, you know, this is totally normal, not terribly interesting. But here, you know, I got a lot of that. But it, in the past, what it has started to do is it starts to throw in a lot of pictures of dogs and women in very suggestive poses and positions. Let's see. Sometimes, I mean, of course, it's not going to do it now. Hi, Alexandra. Thank you so much for coming to my live stream. We're just kind of, I'm showing off the AI generator that I always have fun with. Trying to show one of its creepy things it does, but I'm not having too much luck. I'm going to see. Let's see. So I'm going to ask it to do something and then I'll. Okay, of course it won't let me select the one thing I want. That's okay. I'm gonna give it a very strange prompt. Let's just see what ends up happening. I haven't done that one in a while. So I told it to, yeah, I want you to replace this stuff with some gibberish. Let's see what it does with gibberish. Okay, that's interesting. What is that? I don't know what that is. Okay. Let's see. So that's how it started. Then we've got this one. Well, that's kind of interesting. Let's see. Anyway, all right. I'm probably boring you guys right now. I did want to show you that it does weird things sometimes, but here, I might try one more. Let's see. All right, what do we got? Yep. So let's switch to this one. And I'm going to try this one more time, just see what happens. So we've got a bunch of kids hanging out. I'm just going to see what it does. This has a lot more things it can do. All right. I'm doing very well today. We watched 4 chapters of my novel, the first 4 chapters, and then we've been playing around with some of the stuff I do in the background. See, I didn't tell it anything about what I wanted. So I had these 4 kids, and then I guess they're watching, I don't know what's going on there. Actually, that's kind of weird. Let's look at this one. Oh, they're gone. Practically the same picture, though. Same 2 trees almost. Anyway. Sometimes it comes up with weird stuff. It's just weird. Oh my gosh, and there was one of the songs I had it create recently, and it got to the end of the song, kind of like the one I did for Colin, and then all of a sudden 2 characters in the song are talking to each other and laughing about the lyrics before they they basically, you know, they're spitballing ideas on how to make the music sound. And I'm like, I don't think that's normal for a song, but you know, weird stuff happens. So that's interesting. You can tell from the light on the girls that the sun should be over here somewhere, but then there's this bright light there. And then, okay, that's almost like Twilight Zone-ish. Oops, sorry, my camera's all off me. I've got it sitting on a box on my lap so that I can look like I'm all professional, even though it's not that professional. All right. Sometimes it's hard to call it quits, you know, but let's see. That's boring. And okay, that's interesting. Oh, did these kids have these feet before? Let's look. Oh no, so they added the feet to the kids. All right. Well, I think that's good enough for today, but I am planning to do another live on next Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon Eastern. And we'll pick up on chapter 5 on the next in the Tales of Estolia, and we'll go from there. So we have the whole place burning down. Oh, the whole tree's on fire now. Cool. Or random girl in a purple thing. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I really, really appreciate it. If you could do me a favor and, you know, hit the like, and if you haven't already, the subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I am going to have a premiere tomorrow morning, and I'm going to try to actually make it 3 chapters. That's kind of my goal, because it's really hot here now. And so I just want to have a specific targeted goal so I can get just focus, because I've been having trouble focusing. And so there's already 1 chapter, but I'm going to try to do 2 more. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time for the premiere. And thank you again for being here. It's very, very nice. I appreciate it. You guys fill in my heart. Bye.